There you go, Jace. It's all started now, recording for you, mate.
Okay, nice one. Okay, guys. Let's we'll make a start then. So thanks everybody for coming. So what I'll do first, we'll just quickly run through the procedures for tonight. It's same procedures that we've done for the last few online meetings, and then we'll make our way through the agenda that we've got. So one or two of the items, like we've just mentioned already, if you can mute your mics and turn off your videos, that will help us with the recording. The recording, as you probably noticed on the screen, has already started now. And then at a given point in the next couple of days, the link will be posted out. And if you want to pass it on to relevant managers, or if you want to look back at one or two things that we've discussed tonight, they'll be on there. If you're wanting to ask any questions, what we're going to suggest is, same as always, as we go through each item, if you've got a generic question that you want to ask that's going to affect most teams and most clubs, if you can put it in the little chat box. Once we've finished the section, we'll go and have a look at the questions then in the chat box and try and answer them the best we can. If you're on a device that doesn't allow you to do that, if you want to raise your hand, and then we'll ask you to unmute yourself and ask your question, and again, hopefully we can go through it that way. If you've got any questions that's more specific to your team or your club or a situation that you've got, again, we'll do what we normally do. We'll hang around afterwards, the committee members will, for about 15-20 minutes, and if you've got any individual questions, again, stay behind, ask your question, and we'll do our best to answer them as much as we can for you. The only other thing that we just need to make you aware of is, obviously tonight is the AGM, so there's a few things that you need to vote on. The voting procedure will be slightly different than last year. So last year we had the Google forms, if you remember. It was a little bit hit and miss on them. So what we've decided to do is use the raise your hand facility on Teams. So again, when we ask you to vote for something, we'll ask you to raise your hand, give us a bit of time to sort of count up the number of votes that's on there, and then we move on to the next item. Okay, so I think that's all the procedures for the night. So we'll start to move on to the agenda. Now, there's one or two agenda items. Obviously, we're going to cover everything, but we might change the order slightly just because it revolves around one or two things that we'll be talking about earlier on. Okay, so the first item, number one, which is the attendance stroke apologies. So in attendance, we've got almost all the committee members, I believe, on board at the moment. So there's myself, Jason Brooks from Sherwood FC, and I'm the chair. You've also got Steve Gray, who's the league sec and the treasurer. We've got Jerry, who's on fixtures and referee secretary. We've got Mark Moore, who's our welfare officer and also looking after Charter Standard, and also the go-to bloke when we've been dealing with COVID-related issues. We've got Lee Makins that's on, who's been dealing with the match cancellations. Lee Smith, who's the player registrar and the vice chair. And also we've got a new guy that we've had on board for the last sort of month, 6 weeks or so, called Jay McDonald, who will be talking a little bit more about as we move forward. I think that's covered everybody, unless I've missed somebody. So other than that, we'll move on to the next item if we can, which is the reception and the confirmation of the minutes from the previous AGM. So Steve, if you want to flick across the slides, if you can.
Sorry, nothing to flick on that one. It was all emailed out to everybody earlier today.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so guys, so we need to vote the minutes in from the previous AGM. So we're looking for a proposer and a seconder. If you could just put your hand up for us, if you can propose the minutes.
Deb Bennett from Eastwood.
Okay, and if we can have a seconder as well.
Yeah, Julie Lazarus.
Many thanks, guys. So if you want to bring your hands back down again.
Thank you.
So we move on to the next item, which is the chair's report. So really, probably a bit like we've sort of mentioned throughout the sort of 18 months, is that it was obviously a very difficult season for everybody involved. Very stop-start, but we sort of predicted it would be. We tried to run the leagues as well as we could by probably being a little bit more proactive and making the leagues a little bit smaller than what we would normally do, just to try and get them finished off. So what we would like to do is to thank you all, really. So all your coaches, your admins, people looking after the grounds, and then obviously all the parents and players for coming along as well. So I'd like to say a big thank you to all the volunteers that's helped enormously with the current situation. Obviously, you'll all know with your individual teams and clubs how well appreciated you are within your own club and your community. So well done, everybody. Big thank you as well to all the committee members as well. So again, a bit like everybody else, our lives have changed within the last 18 months and our circumstances, but we're still managing to put the football on and cover all bases. And one of the big things that we didn't think we would be able to do is that we actually managed to run cup final days. Now, obviously, for all those that were present, it was slightly different than normal because of the late notice that we had to put everything together. But there were good days, lots of good reports coming back in from them. So again, like to thank special thanks to Jerry for really sort of pushing that one through, and all the other committee members that were helped out at the time, and again for all the managers that were very proactive in helping out, making sure that the day went smoothly. So a big thank you for that, guys. Well done. And then just moving on, we just alluded to it a second ago. We've got a new person on board at the moment. It's a guy called Jay McDonald. He's been reffing in our league as well recently. And the reason that we've brought him on board is that we're going to propose tonight, when we're doing our votes later on, that we're putting him forward for the equalities officer. Now, obviously, there's been an awful lot in the last 24 hours about sort of racial abuse, and obviously there's in different aspects there's homophobic comments and stuff like that. Now, obviously, in our league, it's pretty much unheard of, but we have had one or two instances this season. So obviously, we're sort of keen to stamp that sort of thing out. Jay has got experience with his background for his work that can really help us in this field, and something that possibly is, obviously we all know it's a very sensitive situation, and we're hoping that Jay can take forward the initiatives on this one. Okay, but obviously as things move forward, we'll start to introduce Jay, and he'll get some information out there which will help all clubs deal with all situations, and hopefully nothing will occur. So that's it from me. Is there any questions on anything that we've just brought up there? Nope. Okay, that's great. So we move on to the Treasurer's report. So there we go. So it's on your screen. I don't think I really need to sort of talk you through it. That's what that is, really. Has anybody got any questions? Nope. Okay, great stuff. So the next item on the agenda is the election of clubs. So these are the new clubs that we have to vote in, and we have to deal with the junior section and the senior section separately. So we're going to deal with the junior section first, and those clubs are going to appear on your screen pretty shortly. So we've got Arnold Town, Duffield Dynamo, Willow Wanderers, and Wollerton Hall and Bramcote. I think most of those have actually been in our league before, but because they've dropped out and they're looking to come back in again, obviously we need to vote them back in. As far as I'm aware, there's nothing too contentious about any of those clubs. But if anybody's got a question about them, now's the time to ask. Nope. Okay, no questions. So what I'd like to do then, I propose that we do the vote as a whole rather than doing the individual teams. So if we can vote in favour of these clubs joining our league, if you'd like to raise your hand, please. Okay, I think that's all pretty much overwhelming on that one. So if we can move on to the seniors. So yeah, if you can lower your hands then please, so we can get ready for the next one. So in the senior section, so we've got Maiden Vale Colts, Sports Gateway Community FC, and West Bridgeford Colts FC. So yeah, so 3 new teams. Again, I don't think there's anything too contentious amongst those, but if anybody's got a question that they want to raise, if you'd like to raise the question now before we do the vote. So if we can all lower our hands, and then if anybody's got a question. Okay, yes. So with Grantham, because they were in our league last year, like, yeah, Steve just already answered your question. Because it was in our league last year, they don't need voting back in again. Is there any other questions? No. Okay, that's great then. So if we can vote on these again, if you can raise your hand, if you're wanting to vote these clubs into our league.
So I just realised I was on mute. I keep talking to you and realising it doesn't work.
I just ignored you anyway, Steve, so that's fine.
You've got majority there anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty much overwhelming. Thanks a lot, guys. So if you can lower your hands again, please. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the constitution of the competition for seasons 2021 and 22, which basically I always used to get confused about. It's just a rundown of what number of teams by the number of age groups that we're running for this season. So we'll quickly run through it. So under 8s, we've got 13 teams, under 9s, 16, under 10s, 13, under 11s, 24, under 12s, 23, under 13s, 29, under 14s, 19, under 15s, 17, under 16s, 18, under 18s, 17, and 16 teams at seniors. Now that gives us a total of 205 teams. Now, this time last year, I think we had 181 teams. So that's a big jump. So again, a big well done to all the clubs out there that are managing not only to generate new teams, obviously mainly at the younger age groups, but also retaining the older, more troublesome age groups, those sort of teenage age groups, where it's quite easy for the girls to drop out the game because there's so many other things that they can do. So again, it's a massive achievement, guys. So well done to everybody. So that's where we are at the moment. We also know that there is going to be more teams coming in, mainly at the development age group. So from under 8s to under 11s. Because a number of clubs have told us already that they're pretty close to entering teams, but they just didn't want to commit at the moment. So we do expect that number to rise by the start of the season. But again, that's a fantastic amount. So well done. Obviously, the other thing as well is, as part of the constitution, we are going to be running our cup and plate competitions, and with the current age groups that's out there, and as it says there, formats to be agreed at a later date. So hopefully by the the managers meeting at the end of August, early September, we should hopefully be able to sort of formalise how we're going to do it. But we don't anticipate there being anything too drastic in the way we normally do things. So yeah, if you'd like to move on to the next item. Oh, sorry, anybody got any questions on what we've just seen? Nope. Okay, that's great. Yeah, if we can move on to the next item then. So it's the election of the officers and management committees. So if you have a quick look down the list, everything's there as it was pretty much this time last year, with the only addition, as we mentioned a bit ago, is the equalities officer, which is Jay McDonald. Jay's hoping to be on the call, but he's on his way home from work at the moment. So I think he's planning on being on the call around about 8ish, if there is any questions along those lines. So has anybody got any questions at the moment before we put a vote in? By the way, we've had nobody put their names forward that they want to take a role. So that's why we've got what we have at the moment. So if you've got a question about the committee members or anybody's role, please shout up. Nope. Okay. So if we can, if you can raise your hand again as normal, if we can vote the committee members on.
It's already up to 45, so that's the majority again.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot, guys. So if you want to lower your hands again, we'll move on to the next item, which is the appointment of the auditors for the accounts. Okay, yeah, so there's the slide. So we're planning on appointing Denhams to verify the accounts. Obviously, as you can probably imagine, that we didn't finish the season until a couple of weeks ago at the end of June. So everything is lagging a little bit at the moment. So as soon as the accounts are finalised, they're going to go straight across to them. But we just need to have a proposer and a seconder for this. So if somebody can propose that we're okay to send them to Denhams, which was the same people that we used last 2 years, by the way. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And if we can have somebody to second that.
Oh, what names have we got as the first and seconders, by the way?
They flew up really quickly.
Oh, I think Lee's just left. What you done? You upset him. We'll go with Stephen Allen.
Yeah, okay, that's great, guys. If you would like to put your hands back down again. Just by coincidence, the next item on the list was to do with player registration requirements for the coming season. Which was going to be.
Back.
Oh,
there he is.
He's back. Oh, he's just like Eminem, isn't he?
You just
right.
like
So we'll move across then. So it's player registration requirements for the coming season. There's one or two little changes. I'll let Lee run through it with you.
Yeah. So as we've not had new photos for a couple of seasons, we're going to do that this year. So you should already be getting flags. I've set the date as the 30th of June. So obviously any players need to have had a photo updated after that date. So if you try to upload someone with a date previous, it should give you a trigger that says you can't do that. Although the system doesn't always play the way it's supposed to play. So everyone needs to ensure that every player has a new photo this season. There's also a new requirement in the system now for all junior players to have a adult attached to their entry. So I was looking at some of our players today, and it says that you can't register it because you don't have an adult attached, which brings us perfectly in line really this season, because what we're doing is you can only do online consent from this season, because we figured it makes sense that if we've got to add a parent to it anyway, then we may as well then trigger the online consent and make sure they sign up to them with an email, because we had probably at least 10 cases last season where a player went to register for a club and I said, I can't sign this player on because you haven't done a 7-day notice approach. And they said, but they haven't signed for anyone. And then when we spoke to the parents, they hadn't signed anything, but the previous clubs had re-signed them without actually signing them. So the way to get around that and make sure that it's absolutely happening is that you do online consent, and then the parent has to consent on the email. I think that they're the only real changes that make any difference. The only other one that I'm going to sort of have a bit of a gripe about is if you get a player leaving your club, please go on and click on them and submit a cancellation to me. It comes through slightly different last season than it did in previous years. In previous years, you just had to, I cancelled the registration, then you could attach them from your club. At the minute, I can't do that. So you have to click to unregister a player. It then sends me a notification. I go on and approve it, and then that player becomes removed from the league, and you can detach them from your club. We had quite a number of those coming through late on in the season as well, where players had left the club early in the season, and then they'd found another club after COVID, and the previous club hadn't released them. They were still on the system. So all that means is whenever Steve does the invoices for player registrations, etc., you'll be getting billed for whatever you've got active at that point. But then also it just causes some contention. If they've left your club, they've left your club, and it just makes everyone's life easier if you remove them. I think that's it from me, Jay.
Okay. Just, Lee, I've just got one quick question. You mentioned about the junior players needing an adult attached to them.
Yeah.
Is that for under 18s and below? And does that mean if you've got an under 18s playing for a senior team, they'll still need an adult attached to them?
I don't know, but I can answer that in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'll come back to you by the end because I'll just drop one of my club senior players. I'll click on them now and see if I can submit them and see if it says the same thing. So carry on talking and I'll come back to you.
Okay. We've just got one question I just noticed come up from Matthew Johnson. What do we do for parents who are not PC literate? Equality rules say that we must provide an alternative.
Mr. Burkett, if he's there.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm typing an email. In terms of, sorry, so just go through it. So so providing paper registration, it all has to be done online. Somebody will have to. You can collect it in the back end, paper copied, but then somebody's gonna have to upload it. No way around it. Player reg.
But if
So Mark, are we saying that somebody from within the club can do that on the parents' behalf?
So we had a query. I think it was last week with a similar problem of a club not being able to get, or a team not being able to get the parents online. So they've done it and set it up themselves by collecting their details and setting the details up, so it can be then uploaded. I'm happy to take it. I'm happy to have an email and follow it up with Julie, because we've been working with Julie with it.
Yeah. Okay. So is this something? So let's say if a club have got this particular problem, do the club then have to liaise with the FA to get this through?
Yeah. If they come to us, then we'll help support the club in terms of what find out exactly what their issue is. Can it be resolved in any other way? But it all has to be done online. Player reg is 100% online. So that's just part of the affiliation process. So if they drop us a note, you can drop me a line or drop Julie a line, then we'll pick it up and help them out for you.
Okay, thanks for that, Mark.
All right.
So hopefully that answers that question. I know so there's a couple of comments come up saying that it's just under 16s that need the parent attaching to them. So obviously that's something that, Lee, if you can just sort of clarify when you get a minute, we can just put that out within the minutes as well.
yeah, but that's fine. So So in terms of the online consent piece, Mark, obviously I know that they can, if they get the parents' details, that you can add them as an attachment of the player. So does that mean that that we then can't use that contact to gain online consent? Mr. Burkett, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I've just dropped a message. My signal dropped out, so I'll just put a question in. So I didn't hear any of that at all. Sorry.
That's okay. So I was just saying, so obviously that, so what you're saying for the workaround would get them onto the system, as in get them attached to a player. But then in terms of requesting online consent, would that, because that just sends an email to someone to verify the system, doesn't it?
So it still has to be verified, obviously, through whole game system. The ways around it would be that the club or the team host an evening or some kind of workshop drop-in session to support that process.
Yeah.
100%. There's no unfortunately there's no overriding system for us to jump in and do it.
Yeah, everybody can have access to an email address, even if they use somebody else's machine to do it. So no matter what, they should be going on and doing it. Say, for example, I could get one of my parents to log onto their account on my laptop and I can show them how to do it. So ways to work around for that. And
we're talking absolute minorities, I would imagine, in terms of numbers for this across the league. So where it's needed for that bit of further support, then we're happy to help support that with that club. They just need to let us know.
Yeah, Mark, what's the answer on over 16s, by the way? As in, because I thought it was under 18s, because as far as our league is concerned, when I'm talking about Forest's first team, we actually have to get parental consent for anyone under the age of 18, not 16.
I'd have to double check because I'm not too sure. Within referees, it's 16 that they need to have that attachment. So I would imagine it will be the same for players.
Yeah, that's what the system prompts anyway. It kicks off any parental stuff as soon as they turn 16. It kicks the parents off their account.
Yeah. So I imagine it will be the same.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Is there any more questions? I can see that Tevis will have got their hand up, but they've also made a comment. So if
I'm happy for Kev to unmute if he wants to ask the question.
Yeah,
it's Kev Newton from Tevis. Just on the relations, to be fair, I understand the system a little bit, and from what I've been told is any player that's 16 or over who can play open age football is self-consenting, so don't need parents. And because obviously they can play in open age football, they don't need a parent to back it up, although they still fall under youth guidance. And also the question I've got, going back to what Lee said earlier about removing players from the system, the only thing I would err on caution with that is that if you leave and they still have requirements that's committed to the club, i.e. outstanding kit, finances, etc., I wouldn't detach any player and they would have to go through the 7-day process.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit, I'm just conscious that a player and it can cause ill feeling between clubs that potentially they say, well, they haven't played for you for 3 months, but that club may have been trying to sort out issues with kits and finance.
No, that's fully understandable. If they owe you some,
so it's just something to be conscious of on that side of things.
Yeah.
Just regarding that though, the FA will overrule anything regarding you trying to prevent a player signing for another club if they owe you money.
But ultimately, they have to go through the 7-day process then.
Yeah, but it would still be only.
We won't release it. Well, then they'd have to appeal again. That's what I say. Is as a club, we wouldn't give consent to a transfer if they sign a club form with us to say that they will not leave the club if they have, or they will pay any existing debts and return any kit without that. Now, if the FA would override that, then what's pointing us as a club having any rules and regulations?
It's standard regulations, unfortunately, and I'm sure Mark can back me up on that one. After that 7-day period, you cannot stop a player from signing for another club, regardless of whether they owe you kit or anything.
Yeah, that's correct.
So ultimately, then clubs have got no standing whatsoever, and the 7-day really is irrelevant, and players can rip clubs off
No,
as much as
days
they want.
It's just after the 7 days they're allowed to sign for somebody else. You can't prevent it.
No, but what you're saying is the FA would allow that player to continue to play football even though they have a debt to a club.
Correct. That would be
Wow.
more for you to take up legally with that person.
Right.
Kev, you'd have to report that debt to us, and there's a possibility of going through like a debt recovery process for that.
So in theory, I just want to get this clear so everybody's clear. What we're saying is leagues and the FA are quite happy for a player to build up debt and take kit and equipment from that club and allow him to move to another club and do the same again.
No, Kev, we didn't say anything about the league doing that. It's an FA ruling, so we can't override the FA.
And the FA, and Mark just literally said there is a recovery process.
So yeah, so the 7-day would happen, but if nothing was reported to us, then that player obviously is then free to move. It's not us blocking it because we wouldn't know that there was that debt. So that debt needs to be raised with us either via the league, the competition, or a member or an affiliate member of our association. By doing that, then we can put that process in place and advise you how that's followed up. But you'd have to let us know, and then we can step in and do things. But without
I totally get that, and that's what I'm saying is you would do to me is as a club we wouldn't release a player off our system and would liaise with the player and hopefully deal with any issue. Fingers crossed you don't get these problems, but if we do, then I would report that. After that player's left the club, I would report that to the FA and to the league saying we have this problem with this player. And then what I'm saying, and what I'm hearing here is, correct me if I'm wrong, the recovery service, what you're talking about, Mark, is only to recover outstanding fines from cautions, etc., not for a kit or equipment.
No, if a player leaves the club or a competition owing money, it can be reviewed. Without knowing exactly all the details of its kit, equipment, but it's debt to a club and debt to a league. So it's not just that won't just cover fines.
Right, that's fine. Thank you very much.
All right.
The only one other thing, Kev, that I would say on a personal note, not officially as part of the league, but I would contact the club that player's going to as well, just to let them know what they're taking on board. If you've got a player that's willing to rack up a debt and not hand the kit back, then I would have a quiet word with the club that they're going to, because there's a good chance you do it to somebody else as well.
Yeah, totally agree, Steve. And in current climates where they may turn around, maybe some teams charge subscriptions, some don't. But if you're charging subscriptions under the current climate, I know we've tried to help a lot of players. We would just say we're parents and players are finding it difficult to try and keep them playing football. And that's all I'm trying to say is, but that can't go on forever.
Yeah, no, exactly right. But yeah, as Mark said, if anything like that comes up, if you contact the FA, and that they'll look to try and sort it out for you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
To clarify again, that still wouldn't stop the player from signing for another club in the meantime.
Okay.
I think we've got
any questions. I think I saw Julie put a hand up. Is that correct? If you are, Julie, please unmute yourself. Oh, yeah, here you are.
Yeah, hi. Mark, just another question regarding the email capture and attaching parental fans to players. We have a couple of families where their email address isn't an English email address and that's not their first language. Would we be allowed to do a paper consent and with a club official attached as a parent?
No, it'd have to be the parent, because then the track back for safeguarding is not correct. So it'd have to be that parent's address.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, Julie.
Thanks, Julie. Is anybody else got any questions on player registrations? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to the next item then. So we've got a note on the weekly's managers routine. Well, obviously this is something that we will discuss in the managers meeting just before the start of the season, because there might be one or two little tweaks. But there is one thing that we do want to bring up though. Again, it's regarding communications between managers and the league. So we're still getting lots of questions. How can I put this politely? Questions that most people should possibly already know the answer for. So again, a bit like we've been trying to reiterate over the last 12 months, the manager's first port of call will be to ask their club secretary or Notts Girls and Ladies rep league for that club, ask them the question or the little query that they've got. There's a good chance that the clubs will be able to answer it themselves, because most things are quite generic across the leagues. And if then you guys can't answer the question for the manager, then please contact the league sec, Steve Gray, and everything must go through Steve. Please don't really contact the other committee members, because they're working on separate things. It is Steve's role to pick up on these questions, and there's a good chance that he'll be able to answer it very, very quickly. Has anybody got any questions on that and the communication from club to league? Nope. Okay, brilliant. Let's move on to the next item then, which is the fixing of the dates for the start and the end of the season. Steve wants to find the slide. There we go.
I'm quicker than that.
So there we go. We're getting near the end now, guys. So start date, Sunday the 5th of September. End date, Sunday the 29th of May. And we've got everything in between. Obviously, if there are any more COVID-related breaks along the way, that will change. But as we stand at the moment, that's the season. We are planning for it to be a normal season until somebody tells us it can no longer be normal anymore. So that is the plan. And if you are to ask us any questions, there will be the answers that we'll be giving you. And then hopefully by the managers meeting, the one that we have just before the start of the season, we'll hopefully be able to put in there some final dates and possibly the rounds for the cups as and when we get a chance to do them.
Yeah, Matt, the question you just asked in the chat, there is going to be a calendar put out, and the half terms and Christmas and Easter and that won't be seen as standard weekends. However, we will be allowing teams to request fixtures if they would like them. So it's pretty much going back to exactly what we had previously in terms of active weeks and inactive weeks.
Okay. I think Jerry's put his hand up. Jerry, do you want to unmute yourself if you?
Yeah, just I'm unmuted now, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just what we're hoping in October half term, if teams want to have games, we're hoping to do something with the younger age groups up to mini soccer or 9v9, even like a tournament or something. Oh, I'll get something out to people, but that's for October half term. If people are interested, I'll get something out to them, just in case some teams do want to keep playing over that time.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Jerry. Has anybody got any questions regarding the dates and the playing season?
Jay McDonald's on now, by the way, Jerry. Jason.
Yeah. Okay. Nice one. Okay, so we move on to any other business. So the trophies and medals for the league winners, runners-up, and respect winners, they've all been ordered. They're due in to us in the next couple of days. What will happen is the procedure will be, once we've collected them, Steve will get in touch with the relevant clubs and we can arrange for them to be distributed, whether that's you guys coming to us or we'll try and meet a manager somewhere, just something that's relatively practical for all parties. Okay. Has anybody got any questions on that item before we move on?
Yeah, just follow up on that. I'll be in touch with everybody in the next day or so regarding that, because I believe they've just been delivered. So we're just trying to sort them out, ready to hand out.
Yeah, perfect, Steve. Thanks. Okay, so the other item that we've got in the any other business, it's something as a committee we've been talking about for at least the last sort of 18 months to 2 years, and it was something that we was going to put to the vote for you guys this time last year, but we felt that it wasn't really the right time to do so. But as you've probably seen earlier on, over the last sort of 2 years, the league has grown quite significantly. Again, thanks to everybody that's on board tonight. And rather than, obviously, we're all volunteers, committee members, and whilst over the years it has been manageable, it is getting to the stage now where it does encroach an awful lot on people's lives, and we've been discussing whether we offer committee members a monetary role, a monetary gift, however you want to perceive it, of £500 per role, which is just a little thank you and a token of appreciation for the work that they do, which will be able to be redeemed at the end of the season if they've been voted in and done a full season. So that's something that we've been discussing for quite some time, and we feel that now is probably the appropriate time to table it across to our members. So that's something that we're going to put it. It has to be voted in. Obviously, it's up for discussion. So that's where we stand with it. If anybody's got any questions, please ask away. Again, you can either raise your hand or you can put the questions in the little chat menu. Okay, is that Kev again from Teversall?
It certainly is. Personally, I would like to propose that you introduce an honorarium scheme, and that is used in most leagues that I've been involved with over the years, which is then fair to all the officers who are putting a lot of time and effort into run the league. And it's not just that, it's generally in today's world now, using IT stuff, is buying the IT stuff and using it at home, using your own electric, etc., to run the league. And for me, I think an honorarium is only the fair way of doing it. But I think that needs to be done on a role basis, which I think a lot of leagues do. But I think there's examples out there that you could follow, I think.
Okay, Kat. So when you talk about an honorarium, is that something different than what I've just said?
No, it's just an official title to put it under,
okay.
rather than a gift.
Yeah. Okay.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that is what falls in the FA guidance as well.
Yeah, they're honorariums to committee members.
Okay, if that's the official terminology, I'm happy to go along with that. Thanks, Kev. Steve, you're still muted. I'm
glad I was. No, it was not a word that Mark mentioned to me when I spoke to him about it before, so it's the first time I've heard of it.
Oh, he's led you up the garden path, has he?
Sorry, Steve, you didn't ask me about that.
That's because I'm talking to you about the other bit.
Oh, okay, guys. Has anybody else got any questions or comments on that?
Just wants to do a vote.
No. Okay. So if we can go for a vote on that, then please. So if you want to raise your hands if you're in favour of that.
Someone put the hand down.
Change the mind.
I think people are putting that down because it went over 40.
Right. Okay.
It's still at 40 anyway. But
am I right, Stephen, saying that's
it's a majority?
It definitely is a majority, isn't it? Okay. Thanks, guys. That's that voted on. Okay, so we have got so Jane McDonald, the new equalities officer now, because he's been voted in, so there's no way he can leave now. So he's on board now. So if anybody's got any questions or anything that they want to bring up, again, we're just about to close the meeting because we haven't got anything else left. So just remember, so if anybody's got any more generic comments and questions to ask, now's the time to raise your hand or put a question in the chat box. Otherwise, we'll look to close the meeting, and then if you've got any specific questions, stay around afterwards, and then we can answer them one at a time. Okay. So if there's, I think I've just noticed a few people raise their hand. Steve, can you see who's raised their hand?
Yeah, Kaz.
Okay, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
No. Michael?
Hi, yeah, just
that.
wondered if you were planning on going any lower than under 8s, because we've got a potential under 7 kind of girls team ready to go. So just wondered if you guys were thinking of anything like that.
Yeah, so I actually had a discussion with Jay about this earlier. It's actually in our development plan to look towards launching an under 7s either partway through this season or with the aim towards next season. What that looks like at the moment, unsure, but I've been speaking with Mark Burkett about that as well. And it is part of our league development plan. So we are looking at an under 7s.
Fab, thank you.
Kaz, just quickly while you're on, so what club are you from?
Holy Spirit Celtic.
Holy Spirit. Okay, so probably what will happen is we actually had a tournament. Well, I say a tournament, a festival yesterday for next season's under 8s. I'm sure what we can do is get an email out there to all clubs and see who is looking at putting under 7s together and possibly organising something along those lines. Or if it's something that you might be interested in, is possibly playing against some under 8s teams if everybody's of the right age that can do that. But so it's important that when an email comes out, is that all those clubs that are looking to do this sort of thing, even if you haven't quite got the numbers there, tell us that you are running these sessions, and we'll look to try and help you along the way and try and introduce clubs together, so you can try and do something a little bit more meaningful at weekends.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Michael?
Hi, yes, it's Michael, Barton Rovers. My question is, are we thinking of reinstating the pictures and the proof of membership of a team at the start of a match? We missed it. We didn't do it, obviously, because of COVID and that, but just thinking if that's going to be part of the rules again next season, where, you know, we swap team sheets, etc.
I think we'll wait until the managers' meeting to clarify that, just because at the moment the COVID regulations would almost say that we still shouldn't be doing it, and we should be what we do electronically. However, by the time August has ran around, a lot of those will be lifted, so I think we'll be able to address it a bit more closely to that time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Alan, so the league fees are exactly the same as what we had in previous seasons, so we're rolling back to what they were. So that's the club affiliation. The club affiliation and the team fees will revert back to what they were 2 seasons ago. So there'll be no increase on that. They'll just be the same as what they were. Player registration will also revert back to £3. Dan. Daniel, call it. There we go. Oh, he's took his hand down now.
Okay, so have we got any more questions?
Oh, damn.
Okay, that's great then, guys. So thanks a lot for attending the meeting. We've managed to keep it to a sensible time as well, which is even better. So you can all go and watch Love Island later on. So if anybody's got any questions specifically to their own club or their own team, if you want to sort of stay behind afterwards, or we've got Jay's that's raised hand, so we'll talk to Jane in a second. So anybody that's got any specific questions, yes, stay behind afterwards. We'll officially close the meeting. We'll give it a minute or so, and then we'll start addressing the questions one at a time. Okay, but no, Jay's just raised his hand. Jay, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thank you for appointing me. It's an honour to be able to come on to such a fantastic group and help out. I'm hopefully going to be sending out a questionnaire to club secretaries just to find out how much interest there would be. I'm wanting to do a couple of courses just around LGBT inclusion within football and sport itself. Race, religion and traditions. We've got, like I seen at the weekend, a couple of weekends ago, we've got a lot of different races and different ethnicities playing in the league. So it's just about understanding their needs when it comes to certain times of the year, etc., like Ramadan, etc. So yeah, I hopefully send something out in the next couple of days, couple of weeks, just seeing what kind of interest there would be from clubs to attend this.
Okay, thanks a lot for that then, Jay. Has anybody got any comments or quick question to ask Jay or anything while he's still on? Nope. Okay, so we're going to officially close the meeting. Like we said, the meeting has been recorded. A link will go out in the next couple of days, along with a set of minutes, which will follow after that. And that's the end of the AGM for this year. Thanks a lot, guys. So we'll close everything down now. Those people that want to ask specific questions, just stick around for a minute or so. Thanks a lot, guys.